Hello, my name is Jimmy, and thank you for joining me in the 136,000 Canadian dollar Mercedes-AMG EQE. Hurts my back a little. If you're looking for a performance sedan, well, an AMG is definitely going to be a brand that you're going to be looking at. That was maybe like 5-10 years ago. These days, well, the market is flooded with performance sedans. Like you got, well, the M5, even the M550 is ridiculously fast. However, of course, in this electrified days, we have like the Lucid Air, Tesla Model S, like there's a lot of quick EVs. So what makes this special? What makes this an AMG? So let's find out a little bit. First, it's not really the looks, I don't think, because it really just looks like, well, the EQS. In fact, this is, well, the same base as the EQS sedan, the EQS SUV, as well as the EQE SUV. All four of those, they share the same platform. Definitely not a bad thing. It reduces the cost, but not that much, let's be honest, of the overall vehicle. It's a unique shape of egg. It does help with aero, let's be honest. So, I mean, it is a little bit more efficient, but because of the drivetrain itself, it's just, well, still not as good as, well, what Tesla can offer. On the front, we do have the digital light LED system, so it can project on the wall, it can highlight people, bunch of things that it can do. Pretty cool system, and actually looks pretty good as well. The front end is definitely a shape that you have to kind of get used to. Personally, I'm fine with it, but a lot of people do say that this entire front end is just not their favorite. What I do like is just the wheels that's on this. These wheels are optional for the EQE, but I think they look fantastic. It sort of has that aero cover type look to it, which I can definitely appreciate. The side, like I said, is that overall egg shape. We do have the illuminated pop-out door handles, frameless doors. But if we do a side-by-side comparison between an EQE and EQS, well, I gotta admit, the EQS just looks a whole lot better. And the EQS is a full-on hatch, whereas an EQE, it's just a sedan, which means while we do get enough cargo space, it's definitely nowhere near as spacious or flexible as what the EQS can offer. If you need to fold down the rear seats, you do have the buttons right here on the trunk lid. And no, there aren't buttons inside. So if you do need to fold them down, that's the only way to do so. If you go to the back seats, headroom, legroom, perfectly fine. Plenty of space within this cabin. The seats themselves aren't like on the floor, so you don't feel like you're sitting on the ground, and they have a decent slope to them as well. Headroom is good with the glass ceiling above us, so actually not much to complain about back here. If you're thinking about carrying child seats in here, I was able to fit 2 child seats within the EQE with no real issues. On the driver's side, collect lane, infant seat, satted, no issues at all. The only problem I had is because the roofline of how it kind of slopes down a little bit, you do kind of have to twist your child seat a little bit to push it inside. But that's really the only thing. On the passenger side, this is a collect FUMF in rear facing. Maybe it was a little difficult getting it in just because of the larger, well, seat itself and the smaller opening, but once in, perfectly fine. There was one thing I did notice. Because of the recline on the seat cushion itself, the front of the seat is like super pressed in to the seat in order for me to have a solid install. And like the back or towards like the crease of the seat, it's not as situated as low as I may like. However, as it is installed right now, I would say it's safe just because, well, it's definitely not going anywhere. It's sturdy in there. Lower anchors, you got 2 sets, one on the driver's side and one on the passenger side, just behind these clips. And in terms of upper anchors, you do have 3 just on top behind the headrest, which are removable. So should be pretty flexible and should fit most car seats. In terms of the front seats here, They are heated, not cooled, because that's an optional extra that's not checked off. You can get massaging seats as well, but once again, not checked off on here. But not bad. This multi-way adjustable seat is decently comfortable. All the controls are right here on the door like most Mercedes are. Headrest is movable. Nothing to really complain about them. Maybe lacking a little bit in thigh support, but overall, not too bad. The steering wheel is your typical Mercedes steering wheel now. You got these haptic buttons that's on here. Personally, I'm not a big fan because they just don't work with my fingers. Because if I was to control the infotainment, like, it's doing absolutely nothing right now. Like, I am swiping on that button. Now it's doing something. It's just not reliable. So it makes me a little angry sometimes. However, luckily I don't have to use those buttons too often. I mean, I have these little dials on the bottom, which I do love because, well, they're available on a lot of AMG products and you can select your drive modes on there, which that's good. That's the good part about them. You do get some paddles on the back that controls your regen, and then you got your full digital display right behind. This cluster is very customizable. However, I would definitely recommend you to stop, pull over, set it all up before you go for a drive, because it's like a whirlwind of like different configurations and screens and all the things that you can have in there. Definitely not something I would suggest while driving. You also get like a heads-up display that's also really configurable as well. So definitely do all of that on the side of the road, in a parking lot, whatever, parked safely, then go, drive, because this stuff, it's just a little bit too much. Infotainment-wise, it's part of this giant display on the dash. I mean, it's the latest Mercedes system. We know it. It works the way that it should. However, because it is a giant tablet, there's nothing to tell you where those buttons are. As you're driving along and your hand is moving, it's just a little bit hard to use. And because there's just so much they're trying to pack in here, it's just a cluster of buttons and settings that maybe it's just a little bit hard to find. I mean, I just fear that most drivers or owners of this vehicle won't really dive into everything that this vehicle can give you, just because of, just how difficult it really is. Even the passenger side, they get their own screen to do, all sorts of different things. Is it needed? Probably not, but this is an EQE. It's not about what's needed. It's really about what's extravagant, right? It's really about what's over the top. And this screen, it definitely sets it off. You do get some dedicated buttons right here in the center, AMG button, start, stop, hazards lights, and whatnot. But everything else is going to be within the infotainment screen. Overall, the interior, I mean, honestly, it's basically the same as the EQS I drove last year. There's really no difference, which is a good thing for the EQE, because it kind of puts it maybe on a higher end scale and kind of puts the EQS down a little bit. But you know what? It's a typical Mercedes product inside. It definitely will give you a wow factor against all your friends that will, see the interior, all the ambient lighting, whatever, stitching, because it is really nice in here. All right. As it is a Mercedes-AMG product, we do have to talk about performance. If I put the vehicle in Sport Plus, I put my left foot on the brake and right foot on the accelerator. Like I said, that acceleration is not going to beat a Model S Plaid, but it is quite cool in terms of the sensation that you feel within the vehicle. Because what it does is it has all that dramatic music, of course, and it pulls your seat back. The seatbelt tightens to make sure that, you're strapped into the seat, and kind of tightens a little bit and kind of pulls you back. It's just a little bit more dramatic than cheetah stance would be. Is it necessary? Once again, probably not, but it feels cool, and that's something, right? One of the best things about the older AMG products were, it generally has a big V8 and it made a lot of noise. Here, while you do get noise, it's a weird noise. It's not, your typical V8 noise. Is it a noise that you would like? That's hard to say. I actually had it mostly turned off during my drive, but my son, he's currently 3, absolutely loved the audio soundtrack. He thought it was like a spaceship. So, you know, if you like the sound, you get more sound. If not, you can turn it off. As I have it in my individual mode, sound is, well, it's set to balanced, which is kind of off. You still get a little bit, but it's not that much. What I do like is the ride. The AMG products, they generally ride pretty well. However, the EQS that I had previously, which wasn't an AMG product, but did have the adaptive air suspension, like, it was just too soft, even in Sport Plus. Happy to say, this in Sport Plus feels really, really good. It's not like overly firm. It's still decently comfortable, and I can definitely ride in Sport Plus all day. I have my individual even set to the most firm setting, and I just have no issues with it. It's actually really nice. But when you put it onto comfort, it doesn't get all like wallowy and bouncy or anything like that. It's still, well, it feels like maybe like a Mazda, maybe a little bit towards a sporty side, not so much comfort like a Toyota or a Honda would be. It's definitely no BMW. It's nowhere near as firm as most M products are. But I think it's a good compromise right in that center part. Looping back to that original question, what makes this an AMG product? Well, it's, I don't know. I honestly don't feel all that special in here. Like, it's not like it's the worst driving car. It's not. It's good. Steering is relatively connected. Suspension is very, very well tuned, where I don't feel like this weighs as much as it does. It's just lacking that character. It's lacking that, let's be honest, V8 engine noise that I'm so used to in an AMG product that makes, well, AMG the way that it was. All previous, okay, maybe not all, a lot of previous AMG products have that just glorious V8 soundtrack. Some have a inline 6, some had V6, but those were like 43s and 53s. This, well, here, at least in Canada, it's just marketed as Mercedes-AMG EQE. However, I know in the US, it's marketed as the EQE 53, which makes a whole lot more sense. Because as a 53 replacement, I love the 53 because that smooth hybrid inline 6 or EQ inline 6, not full on hybrid, it was such a smooth engine, and that inline 6 was butter. Like, it revved nicely, it sounded good, it delivered pretty good efficiency as well. And this as a 53 replacement, I get it. I do. It feels like a 53 replacement, definitely not a 63. It's just not special enough to be a 63. They don't need to go faster in a 63, but they need to do something to make this more special. I just don't feel like, well, I just don't feel like a 63 product. And that's really what I gotta say about this. It's a good car. Is it worth the $136,000 that this is priced at? Probably not. However, if you put everything together, the fact that it has a Mercedes badge, what you're getting at the dealership, kind of the fit and finish, and just everything that's here, you know what? Along with that experience, the 136 makes sense. I'm not gonna say it's worth it, but it makes sense over, you know, your $100,000 Tesla Model S would be. Dual motor, not plaid, of course. But that's really it. If you have any questions about the EQE or anything else about this video, if you like the EQE, if you'd rather have a Tesla, if you'd rather have a good old V8 in a 63 AMG the way it's supposed to be, with some dude signing the engine and you can't even open the engine, or not engine, the hood on this vehicle. That was a tangent. Drop that in the comment section down below. But I'll catch you next time. Take care.